Hello, everyone, and welcome back. My name is Kamilian, and in this series, I share unpopular opinions of mine on movies, TV shows, and games. So, with that, in today's episode, I believe that Boba Fett is severely overrated. Now, I'm not trying to tell you this as a fact, nor am I trying to change your mind. All I ask is that you hear me out. I, for one, never understood why Boba Fett is so popular. Boba Fett is often cited as the coolest character in the entire saga, but from an objective perspective, there's not a lot of reasoning behind his popularity. Whether as a young clone or fully grown, Boba Fett has appeared in 4 Star Wars films, the Clone Wars series, and even the holiday special. Throughout that screen time, Boba Fett has mostly done what he does best: stand around, look cool, and not accomplish anything significant. I believe that describing him as simply overrated would be a gross understatement. He's a run-of-the-mill hunter with an interesting costume at best. The original trilogy. Sometimes raw numbers can paint a picture more clearly than anything else, and that may be the case when it comes to Boba Fett's overall importance to the original Star Wars trilogy. He was edited back into A New Hope for less than 15 seconds. In The Empire Strikes Back, Fett receives under 2.5 minutes of screen time and speaks only 4 lines of dialogue. It's even worse in Return of the Jedi, as Boba is on screen for less than 90 seconds and has a single line of dialogue: his pathetic screech as he tumbles into the Sarlacc pit. Overall, the guy appears for less than 4 minutes in episodes 4, 5, and 6. I mean, Wicket the Ewok even has more screen time than Boba. Boba Fett only speaks 5 lines of dialogue in the original trilogy, and one of them is just a screech. His other lines are nothing to cheer about either. The scene in which Darth Vader wags his finger in Fett's face and warns him of no disintegrations is often touted as proof of Fett's tough reputation. But it doesn't seem too cool when he meekly responds with, "As you wish." A Twitter user, John Gruber, pointed out all of Fett's dialogue from the original trilogy would fit in a single tweet, and that was before they allowed more than 140 characters. Young Fett does a bit better in Attack of the Clones, where he speaks over a dozen lines, but the majority of them are things like, "Yep, sure," and "Dad." Nothing really quotable there. He doesn't contribute much. As a bounty hunter, Boba Fett's one crowning achievement is the successful capture of Han Solo at Cloud City. But a closer review of these events reveals Fett doesn't contribute much on his end. He does track the Millennium Falcon to Bespin, but after that, he pretty much just kicks back and watches Vader and Lando plan to apprehend the rebels. Fett merely picks up a frozen Han on his way out and walks away to collect his reward without ever getting his hands dirty. It's efficient work, but it doesn't do much to seal Fett's reputation. To push this further, Fett's attempt to recapture Solo is just flat out embarrassing. He gets rocketed into the side of Jabba's cruiser by a temporarily blind Han, screams, and then slowly rolls down the sandy pit and is eaten by a stationary antagonist. As Fett's only action scene of note in the original trilogy, it's extremely unimpressive. His most famous act is getting eaten. When your character-defining moment involves being eaten, it's generally not a terrific sign. Fett's journey into the mouth of the Sarlacc is considered pretty pathetic. In the retired extended continuity, and in Boba Fett's new TV series, he escapes from the Sarlacc, which impresses some people. But unfortunately for Fett, several other characters in the extended canon have also survived encounters with the Sarlacc, making Fett's most impressive accomplishment seem rather mundane. Whether these escapes are still canon or not is a different matter for another time though. Jango Fett does manage to fall more impressively than his son, but that's not really a high bar to leap over. During the climactic scene in episode 2, shortly after Jango flies around and slays a space rhino, he finds himself unceremoniously separated from his head by Mace Windu, who doesn't appear to even come close to breaking a sweat in taking out the supposedly skilled hunter. It's a disappointing end, but at least he didn't get eaten by a Sarlacc. He's just like Captain Phasma. One of the most criticized characters in the newest Star Wars trilogy is Captain Phasma, who ultimately left audiences disappointed after receiving plenty of hype in the press. Phasma has a reputation as a tough fighter, wears cool armor, and sells a lot of toys. But she meets a swift end after receiving minuscule screen time and absolutely zero development. Sound familiar? Everything Captain Phasma is derided for is true of Boba Fett as well. Yet, one remains popular while the other is ridiculed. He isn't even the best bounty hunter.
We're not safe till his head is mounted on my wall! I say we kill the beast!
Is it safe?
In my opinion, Fett does not come close to qualifying for that title. However, there is one who shows up frequently as an antagonist in the Clone Wars series and causes far larger problems and mass mayhem for the protagonists than Boba ever did. Cad Bane is infinitely cooler and far more effective at his job than Boba could ever dream to have been.
Sorry, going to interject here for a second. I'm currently editing what you're watching right now. Bear with me. And I've just realized that this is one of my shorter episodes that I've made, and yet it is still more than 50% longer than Boba's original run in episodes 4, 5, and 6. Just for perspective.
The best part about this entire video is that Boba Fett being extremely overrated is just my opinion. And at the end of the day, that's all it is. It's just my opinion. It's not fact. Regardless of whether your opinion aligns with mine or vastly differs, I'd honestly love to hear about it down in the comments below. I've also just kicked off a new series called Hear Us Out, which, if all has gone to plan, was streamed live last night on Twitch. My Twitch link is also in the description below. Hear Us Out is where I'm talking to friends of mine, moderators and such, on all the topics that we've kind of talked about before, as well as many, many other things that we'll be diving deep into. So that'll be live every fortnight on Twitch. For updates on that, jump into my Discord and have a chat there and follow the updates. But ultimately, for now, thank you for your time. Thank you for clicking on the video in the first place. But most importantly, thank you for hearing me out.